How many times have we longed to hear again the voice of a parent or grandparent telling the old stories, the way things were in another era? In the fall of 2000, I reported on a book that brought to life Florida's last frontier as seen through the eyes of a fisherman and folk artist, a man who lived most of his life in a world almost incomprehensible to present-day Floridians.
Dad made us a little 13-foot skiff, bought us a little cotton net, and we started fishing. It was 1909, and I've been at it ever since.
At the time of this 1985 television interview, Rob Storter was 91 years old. He died 2 years later. Storter's lifelong career was fishing in the waters of southwest Florida.
There's no place where there's water between here and Cape Sable that we haven't been in all over.
In the 1960s, encouraged by his granddaughter, writer Betty Savage Briggs, and her artist husband, Storter began another career as a folk artist.
His artwork was to tell his stories. He would draw with pen, pencil, watercolor, crayons, whatever he had.
Briggs has collected her grandfather's written journals and his artwork in a book, Crackers in the Glade, Life and Times in the Old Everglades, published by University of Georgia Press. The book tells of isolated pioneer families and communities living in a pristine environment surrounded by fish and birds in lavish abundance. And it tells of a life that could be hard, uncertain, often dangerous.
There were no roads. Transportation was by boat. He took a boat from Everglades City up around Lake Okeechobee and back down. And he said they may have passed one boat in the whole time that they were gone.
Crackers in the Glade is a book about the way Florida used to be long before we had roads that brought tourists down to the Everglades.
Donna Ridewood is manager of the Museum of the Everglades in Everglades City, hosting a major exhibit of the Storter collection for a year beginning in November 2000.
It's a look at a much simpler time, but frankly a much more difficult time because there were none of the modern conveniences that we have today. It's also a look at the spirit of people who lived in the Everglades and how they survived.
The Storters came to the region in the 1870s, founding what is now Everglades City. Rob's uncle ran a store where settlers and Indians traded for goods brought by boat from Tampa or Key West. It was a land full of promise even then, with homesteaders pushing out into the remote 10,000 islands.
He said there was a family on every island that could be inhabited. They used to grow everything from sugar cane to vegetables and pineapples, everything imaginable. And his dad would take everything to Key West. He would stop by the islands and pick up the produce and take it to Key West to be sold.
People lived on them islands, whole families, they're gone now. But in my younger days, somebody lived on each one, and I practically knew who they were.
Rob Storter was also a deeply religious man, and one who may have sensed the fragility of the land around him.
It seems that then there was this sense that there was an endless supply of fish and birds. He talks about the types of things we just wouldn't think about doing today. Catching thousands of tons of fish in seine nets, people hunting birds for their plumes, schools of fish so numerous it takes an hour for them to pass by. His attitude about the abundance of the Everglades really did change through time and became more the way we feel about it, and that it is a resource capable of being fished out, the birds capable of being eradicated.
That was what we called the Duck Rock. It was a bird rookery down below Chokoloskee where there was 40,000 birds roosted there every night. But all that's gone now.
I think it's a document of where we've been and how far we've come and maybe how far we haven't come. There are a lot of environmental issues that are recorded in this book. The disappearance of the birds and the fish, how the land has been altered. He felt that man was to blame for the things that had happened in the Everglades.
Storter painted some of his scenes over and over again. A mass baptism at Chokoloskee, a houseboat high and dry after a hurricane, two boys swimming up a river pursued by an alligator. The words in the pictures make a kind of people's history, helping us gain a broader understanding of Florida's past through his personal stories.
Every family has a rich history, And it seems that a lot of that history is being lost. I've worked in the schools, and there were times that I would ask high school children, where were your grandparents from? Well, they didn't know. I think this is one of the reasons why I did it, was to give a sense of family to my own children.
Writer Betty Briggs, editor of the book Crackers in the Glade. I'm Bill Dudley. With funding from the Florida Department of State Division of Cultural Affairs, this report was produced by the Florida Humanities Council.